Let's work on this diamond in the rough. Like and subscribe. Introducing Barius Redank, a lumberjack from Valan. A man who earns his living with an occupation that is very common in the wooded area around Holdo and its surrounding villages. Valan is one such village, enclosed by forest on all sides. Its very fields, streets and houses once had to be covered by trees. That must have been a long time ago. Most of its houses are old and its population is aging. It's a quiet town destined to become even more so. In Valan everybody knows each other, travelers rarely visit let alone stay. You then can probably imagine the arrival of Barius more than 16 years ago shook up the town in more ways than one. He was the talk of the town and most likely still is. The single dad who came to this town with his baby son, a horse and one bag, telling the townspeople he was a relative of the old Redank. The village is recluse. Every village has one right. Or makes one. The location of his house far away from all the others, against the forest edge, probably didn't help. The case remains the old Redank was dead for 10 days before some playing children found him. If not for their game of hide and seek, who knows how long it would have taken. The whole ordeal hangs over the village as a dark cloud. So you have guessed they never bothered to tell Barius about this. I don't think it would have bothered him much. He seemed to have his own demons. You can see it in his sunken eyes, or hear it in his absent responses to questions. The estate of the old Redank was overgrown by weeds and barely livable. He was 5 years dead by the time Barius arrived in Valan. Nature can do a lot in 5 years. Alfie was the most skeptical and vocal opposition of this potential new resident. Partly motivated by the plot of Redank's land he has been using for 5 years. As if to deliberately provoke him even more, Barius went to him and his grumpy wife while the others watched, and asked them if they please would take care of his son while he worked on the estate. The pair was taken by surprise. Their little daughter however was delighted and held both hands up. Barius kneeled down and laid little Charolon carefully in her arms. You have to support the head, yes like that, very good. Alfie felt like he had no choice and nodded. He almost went and offered his help and materials, but other thoughts prevailed. I don't think I exaggerate when I say the whole village watched Barius stroll towards the Redank ruin, as they like to call it. Barius seemed to be very resourceful, strong and optimistic, all of which are required when trying to turn the Redank estate into something livable. He worked tirelessly and without complaint, while he patiently greeted curious villagers, who have mustered the courage to go and visit the newest member of their village. Once the first ones came, the rest soon followed. Some of them started helping, and before the end of the day, most of the weeds were gone from the house, and you were able to enter it, and even close the door. Alfie however insisted that Barius and Charolon stayed with them until the house was completely done. As he summarized, I wouldn't even let my pigs stay the night in that. It was meant to reassure Barius. So Alfie was a bit confused when his wife gave him the elbow. Barius smiled polite, while he wiped the sweat from his forehead. The next days Barius made great progress. Alfie started helping with great enthusiasm. The couple of nights beer drinking, together with Barius was enough to make him lower his guard. He even told Barius about the plot of land. Barius reassured him he can continue to use it. He is a lumberjack. He has no great need for farmland so far from his home. Alfie was a great collector of stuff. Let us say he has a different definition of junk than other people. He had it all in his great warehouse. Note, the barn behind his house, which was filled to the brink with all kind of objects. Barius had to climb, watch his step, pay attention, all while Alfie was yelling commands. Yelling. Alfie would describe it as speaking clearly. He knew every item in that barn. Locating them was easy. Getting them out not. But they managed, and after a week of hard labor, the estate was patched up. Alfie was as proud as can be. Barius too, but a bit less vocal as his workmate. Time passed almost unnoticed in this village where not much changes. The restlessness that Barius felt deep down in his bones eventually subsided. He was grateful for the carefree childhood Charolon enjoyed here, is still enjoying here. Although Barius still had to come to terms that his son is no longer a defenseless child who depends on him. He knew he had the habit to be overprotective. Especially when it came to taking Charolon to the city of Holdo. He had outgrown the village, Barius was aware. He was just not ready to let him go. The daily rhythm the Barius appreciated, and Charillon hated so much was often interrupted by a surprise visit from Alfie. Lumberjacky, Jackie. By then it was unmistakable for Barius and Charillon, Alfie was approaching. Only he uses those nicknames. But because of his habit of talking loud, you were never sure if he was still far away, at the gate, or already at the front door. There was a knock at the door, pretty unnecessary given the shouting if you would have asked Barius. Jackie. Good to see you. In one smooth motion Alfie managed to pass Barius and go to the kitchen. Hello Junior, everything well? Yeah, I'm doing great thanks, and you Alfie? Are you no, busy? Barius doubted that, but said nothing. Do you have something to drink? I can hardly talk, dry throat. Barius shook his head a bit and started pouring some glasses of milk. Have you heard the news? Barius placed the glasses on the table. No, we haven't heard the news Alfie, for that we depend on you. Alfie smiled and took a big sip of his glass. A group of unsavory types were spotted crossing the border. Seems like our reputation does no longer protect us. Glad we have our Baron to protect us no, added Alfie sarcastic. Barius did not respond much. Charillon looked at his father, something seems to bother him. It's time I go, I still have a lot to do. Thanks for the milk Jax. He patted Charillon on the shoulder, gave a nod to Barius and left. Alfie doesn't do well with silences. Barius was woken up by a smell. It was the smell of something burning. A sharp ache shot through his head, but fast subsided when adrenaline took over. He went upstairs to wake his son. In a mad dash he went to the well and started to fill a bucket with water. Shadows approached from the burning horizon. It must be the barn of Dolores that is ablaze. Barius felt the heat even from this distance. Then he saw. He dropped his bucket. The past has come. Thanks for watching. Who do you think has come to Valan? Leave your theories in the comments below. Also let me know who you want to see make a return in the next video. Keep chasing stories. See you next time.